This is Denny Gulino at Mace News. It's Monday, April 13th, and we're watching the White House. And there was a lot to watch tonight. The coronavirus task force briefing. President Trump spent an awfully long time defending himself against another story he didn't like. There had been a similar one in the Washington Post a couple of weeks ago. And they pointed out how much time was lost between the imposition of those travel bans on China and on Europe and the time that he did much of anything else, like appoint the task force. So he spent almost no time defending himself directly against that accusation. He kept concentrating on the imposition of the travel bans. And he finally kind of lost patience and told a reporter she was a disgrace for being so persistent, asking about the interim time when nothing much was done. Tony Fauci, the esteemed researcher from the NIH, was on the podium later, and he said he did have a regret about that early period. He was sorry he didn't know sooner that the virus could be transmitted by people who had no symptoms. And that made all the difference. That meant that New Jersey, New York, they were not aware that the virus was already circulating. By the time they found out, it was too late, and they had to go into mitigation, not containment. But that's the past, and American people worried about the future now. And there were some nuggets in the briefing about the future. Stephen Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, was at the podium, and he said that the White House is reviewing lots of names, 100, to come up with the Back to Work Council, and a lot of committees that'll support it, made up of professionals, business leaders, faith leaders, and they are tasked, or will be, with coming up with a plan to reopen the economy. Now, a lot of governors, they're not so enthusiastic about opening the economy before there's some testing regimes that are in place. So they'll be slow to encourage people to go back to school, go back to work until they see that testing in place. How long that will take, nobody seems to know, but it's probably not going to take place by May 1st. All the testing that goes on is done now to diagnose the virus. It can be either processed slowly in bulk or very fast, but only a few at a time. So the task force is now leaning on hospital administrators and lab technicians to gear up and use all the capacity for testing they have. Right now, they're only using about half of the fast technique and about 80% of the slow technique. It'll take a lot more. There's another kind of test, and it's called the antibody test, and it's used for what they call sentinel surveillance. And that will be necessary also so that you'll know who has had the virus. And if they're immune now, they can go back to work. Also tells you how long it's been circulating in your particular region. So that's what's necessary. And how long it's going to take to get there, no one at this point knows. They just know it's not there yet. President Trump started a new controversy saying that he has what he called absolute power to tell the governors what to do, when to reopen, how to do it. Governors might not all agree, and he says that's okay because he thinks by the time it comes for a reopening, everybody will be on the same page. Now, the death toll has exceeded every other country, that of the United States. And it is agreed upon that social distancing really is working. But hospitalizations are leveling off, but not really declining. And the death toll is leveling off, but it may be reaching a plateau. It may not go down the other side of the slope. So if Americans relax what they're doing, the social distancing, that death toll could increase again very sharply. Everyone waits to see what's next. And this is Denny Gulino at Mace News.